Imagine standing in a crowd, witnessing something deeply wrong, something truly dangerous unfolding right before your eyes. And then, you do nothing. You just watch. It's a chilling thought, but it's a reality more common than you'd ever believe, and the reason why probably lives in your own mind. We're going to dive into a psychological blind spot that makes groups of people overlook or completely ignore obvious danger, leading to real-world disasters, and why you, yes you, are highly susceptible to it. This isn't just about bad people. It's about how our minds work under pressure, especially when others are around. Understanding this isn't just fascinating. It could literally save a life, maybe even your own. At its core, this phenomenon is about responsibility, or rather, the lack of it. When danger strikes and there are multiple people present, our individual sense of obligation to act seems to just melt away. It's like a shared burden that everyone assumes someone else will pick up. You see the problem, you know it's bad, but there are others. And in that crucial moment, a silent question hangs in the air. Why me? Someone else will surely step up. This mental dodge, this quiet assumption that another person will take charge, is called diffusion of responsibility. The more people who are there, the less personal responsibility each individual feels. It's as if the responsibility to intervene gets spread out so thin among the crowd that no one feels like it's solely their job anymore. Everyone waits for someone else to step up, and tragically, that means no one does. But it's not just about passing the buck. There's another layer to this psychological puzzle, something even more insidious: pluralistic ignorance. This is when you secretly believe one thing, but you assume everyone else believes the opposite. In a dangerous situation, it can play out like this. You see a person collapse, a fire alarm blares, or a conflict escalate. Your gut tells you something is terribly wrong. You feel that jolt of fear, that urge to act. But then you look around. Everyone else seems calm, maybe even indifferent. No one else is panicking. No one is rushing forward. So, what do you conclude? You assume that because everyone else looks calm, they must know something you don't. They must understand that the situation isn't actually as serious as your gut is screaming it is. You suppress your own alarm bells, afraid of overreacting, afraid of looking foolish. You think, if it were really serious, surely they would be doing something. This creates a false sense of normalcy, a collective delusion that keeps everyone frozen in place, discouraging any kind of intervention. You're privately freaking out, but publicly pretending everything is fine because everyone else is too. And to make matters worse, there's a third psychological hurdle: evaluation apprehension. This is simply the fear of being judged by others. Think about it. You see something happen and you feel the urge to help. But then a little voice creeps in. What if I do it wrong? What if I make things worse? What if I look clumsy or incompetent? What if people laugh at me for overreacting? This fear of social disapproval can be paralyzing. We hesitate, not wanting to draw negative attention to ourselves, not wanting to stand out, even if standing out means doing the right thing. In a society that often values conformity, the risk of being seen as foolish or even just slightly out of sync with the group can be enough to prevent us from taking necessary action. It's the fear of the spotlight, even when that spotlight might be illuminating a path to help someone in desperate need. These three forces, diffusion of responsibility, pluralistic ignorance, and evaluation apprehension, form a powerful, invisible cage that can trap entire groups in inaction. The consequences? They are devastating. This isn't just theoretical. It has contributed to untold real-world tragedies. We're talking about violent crimes where victims suffered horrific attacks while dozens of witnesses stood by, doing nothing. Medical emergencies where someone collapsed in a public space, surrounded by people, and no one called for help until it was far too late. Think of incidents that have made headlines over the years. Tragic stories of individuals suffering while dozens, sometimes hundreds of people were present but utterly paralyzed. One of the most infamous, though often misreported cases that helped popularize this concept involved Kitty Genovese in 1964. While the original narrative of 38 witnesses did nothing has been challenged over time, the core psychological insight it sparked remains chillingly accurate. The more people who could act, the less likely any one person will act. These aren't just isolated incidents. They're stark reminders of the insidious nature of this phenomenon, proving that sometimes the greatest danger isn't the threat itself, but the collective silence of those who could have intervened. So, how do we break free from this invisible cage? The first and most crucial step is simply understanding that this effect exists. Knowing about diffusion of responsibility, pluralistic ignorance, and evaluation apprehension allows you to recognize these psychological forces when they start to play out in real life. It helps you become aware of your own biases and tendencies, the little voices that tell you to stand back. Once you know, you can actively combat it. Here's how. When you encounter a potentially dangerous situation, make a conscious effort to acknowledge the danger directly, both to yourself and, if possible, to others. Don't assume someone else will act. Instead, actively fight that urge. Take personal responsibility to intervene. This doesn't always mean rushing into a dangerous situation yourself. It means taking some action. This could be calling emergency services, yelling for help, or pointing to someone specific. And this leads to the most powerful strategy. If you are the one in need of help, or if you are trying to galvanize others to help, make a clear and direct request for help. Don't just yell, "Somebody help!" That leaves the responsibility diffused. Instead, point to a specific person. You, in the blue shirt, call 911. Or, you, with the backpack, help me lift him. By singling someone out, you immediately overcome the diffusion of responsibility and give them a direct instruction, making it much harder for them to ignore the situation. Even a small, decisive action can break the spell and prompt others to follow suit. Be the first stone thrown into the still pond. The ripples will spread. Actively working to counteract this innate psychological tendency isn't just about being a good Samaritan. It's about recognizing our shared humanity. By understanding and overcoming this silent killer of action, we increase the likelihood of helping those in need, foster a more compassionate society, and contribute to creating a safer world where obvious danger isn't met with obvious inaction. Understanding these powerful psychological forces can change how you respond to critical moments. If you found this insightful, check out our other deep dives into the human mind right here.